Yo, 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 kids, YouTubers, humans in general. I'm back. I'm drunk. In case you haven't watched my channel before, I'm not normally drunk. No. Actually, I don't get drunk enough. I should get more drunk. Anyways, there's a Gran Turismo video that I recently uploaded. I don't know if it's going to show up before this one or after this one, but I'm also drunk when I'm driving my cars in Gran Turismo, and I basically just talk the whole video, and it may be entertaining to you, it may not be, but it's worth a check just to see anyways. But anyways, I'm here to do one of my pop culture videos, and I figured why not when I'm drunk, because it could be a little more entertaining than usual, because I usually get like 0 views, 1 view, 2 views at most. So let's do this a bit wasted, and we'll see what happens. So first up, I have 6 items this time, 3 books, a few other things. First up, the 8th and penultimate book in the Expanse series. Penultimate, kids, means second to last. At least that's what I think it means. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, it's called Tiamat's Wrath. This sci-fi series in outer space is fantastic, and I've done the last number of books. I don't think I've got this one in my videos since the start, because it's been going a while, but in this book it's been maybe, from the way I figured it, about 3 years, give or take, since the last book, and since High Consul Duarte and his Laconian Empire have come through the gates with their proto-molecule inspired tech and enslaved the rest of the galaxy to come under their control. It's been 3 years since that happened, and so basically he's got James Holden, the former captain of the Rochinante gunship, as his kind of pet captive on his planet of Laconia, and he's kind of Duarte's preaching his Laconian rule throughout the whole system. But there is a rebellion, and a lot of this rebellion is being led by Holden's former crew, which includes his partner Naomi Nagata. And so they're doing it in different ways, though. Naomi has kind of shut herself off in this kind of system of living in a kind of container cube inside of a spaceship, and being shuttled between spaceships and staying undercover and kind of trying to alter galactic events through information and politics and getting people on the inside, sort of thing. Whereas other members of his crew, Alex and Bobby, especially Alex, what's Alex's last name? I forget Alex's last name. Bobby Draper, the Marine lady, and Alex, it'll come to me. But they're working together using one of the Laconian ship that they stole, using the ship to kind of cause chaos and stuff while still remaining undercover. But what ends up happening here is a few things kind of unfold that set events in motion. Duarte and his Laconian forces are going to start doing some experiments with the aliens that wiped out the aliens that created the proto-molecule, by sending them a violent message and seeing how they respond to it, and then through this response seeing, okay, it's just an automated response and these things are just kind of brainless whatever, or the responses differ each time they do something, and they say, oh, this is a living, thinking species or being or whatever, and we're going to have to deal with it differently than if it happened otherwise. So they're doing all these experiments to kind of attack this unseen enemy and see what happens. In the meantime, Naomi, Alex, Bobby are doing their thing, and they end up doing a raid and acquiring basically contained antimatter, which is how the Laconians have figured out how to fuel their futuristic spaceships that can just basically wipe out anything in their sight. And with this antimatter, they figure, well, we can deal the Laconians a big loss by using it to blow up the second of their 3 monster spaceships that are enforcing all this rule through the galaxy, which would bring them down to just one, which they would hopefully keep in system to control over the whole planet, right? So they see this as a real opportunity to show the rest of the galaxy that these people can be fought, even though they're bringing these spaceships and this tech to the rest of the galaxy that seemingly can't be beat. It can be beat, and hopefully inspire a rebellion through that. So there's all these things going on, but the Laconians kind of shoot themselves in the foot by doing all these experiments and provoking the aliens, and they send out a couple of responses. And during one of these events, Duarte, who has been experimenting with some life extension elements through the proto-molecule, reacts badly to one of these and basically becomes like a kind of vegetable guy and can't lead his Laconian empire anymore. So on Laconia, they're scrambling to see, like, what do we do? What happens? He's not in a position to lead, and his daughter factors into this a lot because he's been she's only 14, but he's been grooming her to become the next him, only not so soon, right? So her decisions in realizing what happens kind of greatly influences what happens moving forward after Duarte goes down and becomes a vegetable, basically. So the rest of the book kind of unfolds as Bobby and Alex kind of take this advantage to destroy another Laconian warship, and they kind of are basically the rebellion kind of, or the resistance, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, kind of stages a grand coup to bring Laconia kind of to its knees and destroy their ships and kind of show the galaxy that they can't just run amok over them and control everybody, and at the same time they want to rescue Holden from Laconia, Amos, another member of the former Rocinante crew, who has been on Laconia as an undercover agent for a while. He factors into it as well. So there's all these moving parts in this story that kind of set up where the final adventure is going to go, and I can't wait because it's really kind of brought everything to kind of a head that, you know, it's going to kind of explode in the end, and it's been a really interesting ride so far. This is like a space story that is totally fantastical, but also ultra realistic at the same time. It's bizarre. You have to read it to kind of believe it. And apparently it's an Amazon Prime show now too. So, well, it has been for a number of years now, but I kind of want to watch that, but the books are so good that I probably watch the TV show and go, oh, this is shit, right? Because that's usually the way it goes. The books are always better, but I'm sure the show is great too, but I don't have enough time to do everything I want to do. So anyways, that was that. Next up, Neil Patrick Harris has written a series of books called The Magic Misfits, and I have just recently read the third issue of this called The Minor Third. In this one, the Magic Misfits have, recovered from their first two adventures, and they're preparing for a talent show in Mineral Wells, which is their little tiny hometown. And they're perfecting their magic act, and as they want to enter this and win and claim the grand prize. But Theo, one of their members, who specializes in levitation and some illusions and stuff like that, and he's also a great musician on the violin, starts having doubts about stuff, about his own performance, about what he's seeing in real life, because he keeps saying he thinks their ultimate villain, Callaghan, who's been behind the first two attacks, he keeps thinking he's seeing him in the shadows and stuff. And also all of his brothers and sisters are home for the summer, who are all famous musicians in various capacities around the world, and they keep bugging him about, stop fucking around with magic and get on your violin, you've got talent, right? So he's having severe doubts, and that kind of throws the whole Misfits dynamic into disarray. And what happens is this ventriloquist and his dummy come into town, and they're performing at the lodge. And what the kids realize is that this ventriloquist and his dummy look a lot like that ventriloquist in his dummy, who was part of Mr. Vernon's original Emerald Ring magician group years and years ago that burnt down the wing of the hotel and basically were responsible for where things had come to this point with those former relationships, which created Callaghan and his vendetta against Mr. Vernon and whatnot. So they think they see the former member of the Emerald Ring show up into town and doing this ventriloquist act, and they figure he's up to no good because all the people that have come before him in the first 2 episodes have come from the Emerald Ring and have been up to no good. So they think this third guy's up to no good as well. So they start scoping him out and following him around and trying to get some goods on him. And but eventually they realize that he's not who they think he is, and they've been being kind of duped this whole time, and then they just have to battle through all this adversity, Theo's doubts, like all this. It's almost like the Harry Potter where, what was it, Goblet of Fire? Yeah, I think it was Goblet of Fire when they had the Triwizard Tournament, and kind of Harry and Ron turned on each other, and there was all this dissension amongst the main characters. And it was kind of like that in the Magic Misfits. Like, they all started hating each other and distrusting each other, and they had to come together in the end and see through everything that was going on and make things right, sort of thing. So, and in the end, they do, but it kind of leaves off in a bad place as well, because the magic shop gets blown up and gets burnt down, and so there is a lot of catastrophe that goes along with kind of somewhat of a happy ending, I guess. But yeah, so great series by Neil Poonhandler. If you don't understand that, watch Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. You'll soon find out who Neil Poonhandler is. He's the same as Neil Patrick Harris. It's just different names for his initials. And I must say I like Neil Poonhandler better. So anyways, that is that book. Next up, book 2 in A Babysitter's Guide to Monster Hunting, called Beasts and Geeks. I am both of those things. In Beasts and Geeks, Kelly Ferguson, babysitter extraordinaire who has recently had an introduction to the Rhode Island chapter of babysitters who fight monsters to keep kids safe all around the place, is at Hell Weekend, which is basically a training weekend that says, oh yes, you're being accepted as a full-fledged babysitter, or no, you're still going to be a trainee. She fails, still a trainee, super pissed off. But soon afterwards, she visits this weird serpent fellow, I forget his name, who lays this prophecy on her that you are going to be the one who protects the turtle. The turtle is vital for whatever. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? Soon enough, she gets a babysitting job where she has to take care of an infant, which she is not prepared for, as she has not done that yet. And his mom says, oh yes, when he smiles, he looks just like a turtle. And Kay Ferg is like, what the fuck did you say? A turtle? So she's babysitting this kid. Soon enough, she's under siege from monsters trying to get at this kid. And as events unfold, the ultimate villain that's after this baby is revealed as Serena, I think her name is, which is this spider lady, who is one of the 7 boogeymen that kind of rule the nightmare world. And in the first book, on Halloween, Kelly Ferguson took down the first of these boogeymen, who was called the Grand Guignol, or whatever the fuck his name was, who is actually the brother of Serena the Spider Lady. So she's not only got an interest in this little infant who is rumored to, in the future, take down all of the monsters, but she's also pissed at Kelly Ferguson for taking down her dear evil brother. So she's coming on 2 fronts, and Kay Ferg has to bear down, get her done. That's the only cliches I could think of, and defeat this lady. And it's kind of like in the Magic Misfits, where the magic shop burnt down and got blown up, and things kind of ended on a sour note. In this one, the Rhode Island chapter of Babysitters Club gets discovered and gets burnt down and blown up by all the monsters and whatnot. So it's kind of a similar kind of ending. It's happy because they saved the little baby Theo, the little turtle, and defeated Serena. But also they're left without a home, and things are kind of up in the air. So it's a very similar kind of adventure. And I know there's at least one more in that series. Maybe there'll be more after that, but I know there's at least one more, which is on my list to acquire in the near future. So I will be reporting on that at some point in said near future. So, next up, DVD collection, seasons 1 to 3 of Disney's Gummy Bears. As a kid, I loved the Gummy Bears. They're probably my least favorite, actually, of all the Disney shows. Well, maybe tied with Darkwing Duck, I don't know. It was the first actual Disney cartoon that premiered in 1985, so it beat out all the other ones like DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, all that stuff, and eventually became part of that Disney programming block that included DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, Darkwing Duck. There's another one I'm forgetting that I have watched. I can't remember what it is, but it became a big part of that block. And it was different in that it wasn't all just the standard 22-minute, half-hour show formats. Sometimes it would be the regular 22-minute full episode. Sometimes it would be 2 10 or 11-minute episodes that were kind of back-to-back sort of thing, right? So it was kind of weird watching through this DVD set, which was, I think, was it 3 discs? Yeah, 3 discs. So I don't think it was the full series, but it's close to it, but it's not the full series. Disney releases their series in a weird way. Like, you just kind of take what they give you and be happy with it, because they don't release like a full set sort of thing. But I think it was most of the series, not all. So it was kind of weird watching it though, because it was like one night you'd watch a 22-minute one, and then one night the next episode would only be 10 minutes long. You're like, oh, it's over already, right? I totally forgot it was like that from back in the day. But anyways, the Gummy Bears are this kind of race of bears that live in, it's kind of like a medieval kind of setting. And they live in the forest, and they're kind of the last of their breed in the area. And they're kind of just holding down this Gummy Bear community until the great Gummies can return. Because years and years ago, they had a falling out with the humans and went away. And so the Gummy Bears in this series don't know if those gummies are still alive, if they're ever going to come back, whatever. So it's kind of the story of them living in this little grove that they control, and dealing with the threats in the region, which primarily come from this kind of power-hungry Duke, or whatever the hell his name was. Duke, what the hell is his name? Dookie, that's what his little buddy calls him. So it's a Duke, I forget his name, and he has this kind of troll legion that he commands that kind of go after the Gummy Bears, and the Gummy Bears have this magical gummy berry juice that they make from gummy berries, that when they drink it, they get these superpowers. Basically, they can fucking leap really high, they have super strength, whatever, but it only lasts a really short time. So, but Duke, God, what the fuck is his name? God, I totally forgot his name. I'm going to have some coffee and think about this. I just remember the little tiny troll. I always called him Dookie. Dookie. I feel like Jeopardy should be going right now. Somebody would have totally buzzed me by now, but anyways. So that's this Duke guy's kind of their main enemy, and so they kind of have to navigate life amongst him. Dunwyn Castle is nearby, where the king lives with his daughter, I forget her name, and his daughter's friend Kevin, who they become friends of the Gummy Bears and kind of help them realize that, okay, humans are actually pretty cool. At least a lot of them are. You know, not all of them are like Duke, whatever his name is. So yeah, and it's just kind of the chronicles of the Gummy Bears' adventures as they kind of live in this little land and do their thing. So, I threw the wrong thing. Never mind. It's Gummy Bears. Next up, and I don't even have a thing for it, but it is a video game for the Switch that I got a while back, and it is called Overcooked II. James and I played the original Overcooked for the PS4 a while back, maybe last year or whatever. And so when Overcooked 2 showed up for download and whatnot, I was like, bang, right on it. So basically, in this story, the Onion Kingdom has come under attack yet again, this time by a horde of undead food items. So you got these pieces of toast that have red eyes and they're like zombies and they're attacking the kingdom. So King Onion once again tasks you, his valuable and ingenious chefs, to take on these hordes and feed them and get them the fuck out of there, right? So so basically you're doing the exact same thing as you were in the first game. You're working together to create these recipes and feed the people, and do it within, you know, the time limit given to you, and achieve the point totals you need to pass to various different degrees, gold, silver, bronze, whatever you want to call it, and work your way through the game and the story, and eventually win. So in this game there were some different things thrown in, new recipes and stuff. There were some new appliances you had to use, like a mixer. You had to throw flour in along with an egg and then whatever other ingredients you had to go in. So you had to mix it, then bake it, and then put it into the give it to the customers or the undead, whoever you're serving. So there were some new recipes to work out, and some new processes with the cooking that you had to work out. There were also a lot of new obstacles. Like sometimes there were you know, platforms that were timed, so they would you know, they'd be connecting these different areas of land that you'd be cooking on, and they'd all go across, and then after a while those ones would disappear and the ones going down would connect, you know. So you had to really kind of you really had to do, once you got later into the game, you had to do certain recipes a few times in whatever map you were on to kind of work out, okay, this is how we need to approach this level, because there's so many different aspects that go into it. Like sometimes you just have to throw some rice into a pot and wait for it to boil. You know, what can I do while that's happening, right? But okay, what can I do if this bridge isn't across, right? So you always had to find something to do when you could do it, and find the best way to kind of maximize your time in each level, to get as much done and acquire as much points as possible, and not let any recipes kind of lag and expire, because then that costs you points, right? So it was really, they throw a lot at you and you have to do your best to kind of manage it, right? So and there were other different various kind of traps and stuff that they put in, but it's such a fun game. It's such a weird, different, easy concept that they can make a third one right now and release it, and I would buy it in a heartbeat. It's just a super cool game series, fun for the whole family. You know, you can play with up to 4 players, I think. So you know, it's a very innocent, fun kind of game. You know, mom, dad, children can all play it together. So I highly recommend it for anybody, really. So very much enjoyed Overcooked 2, as much or more as we enjoyed the first one. Last up, NHL Faceoff 99. So, as you may remember, I've played a lot of these NHL Faceoff games now. I think 98, 97, maybe 96 was the first one. So this is either the 4th, maybe the 5th one in a row that I've played. It's basically followed the same format as the ones that came before it. I didn't like this one as much, simply because you couldn't really hit people as easily as you could in prior versions. I think the game before this, 98, was the same kind of way. Laying a body check on somebody, really, even if you took a real long, hard run at them, you're lucky if you bounce them off the puck, you know? Like, whereas in other games, you fucking flatten them. You know, like, it's monster hit. You take the puck from them, right? So hits are really important to me in video hockey games. They kind of make the game. So the fact that you couldn't really lay into anybody in this game took a lot away from it. Otherwise, everything about it, the scale of the game, the gameplay, the speed of it, the graphics, everything about it is awesome. And it is one of those games that it's really hard to score on. So it's really competitive. It's not one of those hockey games where you're winning 9-0 18-1 every game, right? Like it kind of gets kind of boring because it's so easy after a while. This is one of those games where you could literally lose almost every game of the season. You know, like it's totally up in the air every time. A lot of games in this this version, I won 1-0. You know, like it's like the scoring is so little that once you get your first goal of the game, you're like, okay, I'm gonna win. But if you get scored on first, it's like, fuck, I'm gonna lose, right? Like it's that tight that that it's really it really makes it competitive and makes it interesting. So it would have been nice if the scoring was a little easier, like not a lot, because I do like close games because it makes it more authentic and it makes it a lot more interesting to play. But this was almost too hard to score. Like it was just like crazy. And like I'd literally have like the shots at the end of the game would be fucking 97-1 and I won 1-0. Or I went to overtime 1-1. Like my fucking goalie let it in. Like the one shot you got, you let in, you fucking asshole, right? Like it was kind of like that. So otherwise, other than the hitting, very good game. And but I still think the original, the very first one of these games was still the best because you could just flatten people with hits, and I think you could even hit the refs. I know you could hit the refs. I just don't remember if it was the first game or the second incarnation, but one of those two first games, like the hitting was awesome. You just flatten people, and you could also, like, if the ref was in the way, you just fucking flatten him too. Like it was just such a cool thing to be able to crush a ref, right? But anyways, NHL Faceoff 99 is in the books. I highly enjoyed it. Could use a bit of improvement, but otherwise still a very solid video game. And yes, I hope you enjoyed my drunk ramblings tonight. I will be back in the near future with yet another installment. So long.